Okay, good morning everyone. Happy Friday. Today is a wonderful, warm day.
Yeah.
It's so hot.
90.
It's so hot here, not.
But I'm still drinking my coffee. Thank you, Kara.
I was talking to the neighbor about the weather yesterday, and she's like, oh, it's getting so warm, isn't it? I'm like, lady, let me tell you about warm, sister.
You don't know anything about warm.
I will say that the humidity aspect, though, is certainly making it less comfortable than it would be in Arizona, but I'll take it, you know? At least I don't go outside and my face immediately like starts melting. I could feel like this. Like the guy Indiana Jones, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, it's a wonderful Friday, and today we are here to talk to you about a bunch of questions.
And we recovered from last Friday already.
Oh yes, we sobered up.
Yes.
I actually had somebody complain about the alcohol, and it's like, seriously, I'll agree, it got a little tipsy, but what happens when you drink, even if it's not even affecting your brain, it sort of lightens the mood, you know? So it wasn't like we were necessarily getting wasted.
It doesn't mean you have to. It's okay.
I gave the guy some crap though. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. We were really happy to do that. And
I had a lot of fun.
I thought it turned out good. The response was good, so we'll keep doing it.
Yeah.
Got a lot of questions today, Nicole.
You know why?
Because
I put the post up and I said, I made a cool image.
You put an image up and it encouraged people to ask a ton of questions.
Exactly. So,
that's perfectly fine.
But I am still grabbing questions from the YouTube chat, so.
YouTube? Oh, the YouTube. Oh yeah, and thank you everybody with that super chat thing last week. That was crazy. People got drunk and started sending us money.
And I found out that YouTube doesn't take a cut of it.
That's awesome. That goes straight to us. Very good.
We're going to have some really good beer next time.
Well, we can't really say anything about it yet, detail-wise, but we are trying to work out, we're trying to do opportunistic, sort of sensible advertisements, if it makes sense. And we are talking with a sort of, let's just call it like a beer of the month club that we might work with to help.
Because a bunch of people said, hey, let me know what beer you're going to drink.
Yeah, well, let us know ahead of time. And it's like, well, look, you know, if it's up to Nicole and I, we're just going to go to the supermarket and buy, you know, Dos Equis. And so this Beer of the Month Club could be a cool thing. It will hopefully be able to work in some kind of a discount. That's always the goal here. And we'll have some fun with it.
Yeah, it should be fun.
All right, let's get to some questions. Is there any announcements or anything we have to talk about? I don't think so, right?
No, I just said thank you to Kara and Craig for my wonderful kiwi mug.
Your sweet little mug with your little kiwis on it.
I know she's been looking for it, and we keep going to Dunkin', but today it was just too busy, so.
And I have a Dunkin' Donuts mug.
Even without Dunkin', you still have Dunkin'.
One for my homies. Okay, so lots of questions. I'm going to run through them really quickly. Let's do it. Ken Baldwin wrote in, hi Mark and Nicole, do you know yet what days you'll be at AWFS? Forgot to ask you this ahead of time.
Let me pull up my calendar.
Look it up and I'll go to the next question.
Okay.
Derek Gettings, I'd like to know if there's any tricks to using epoxy as a finish. I'm making some slab tops for computer desks and they need to handle a lot of punishment. There are definitely some tips and tricks. Now, I've never applied a pour-on epoxy finish, but there are plenty of videos out there on the process. So I would definitely get to Googling, start looking up on YouTube. You'll find some people who are good at this and have done it before. There is a trick to it, sort of a nuance to getting the poured finish to look right, getting the bubbles out. A lot of times it's like a heat treatment or a heat gun or something they might use to get the heat or the bubbles to kind of go to the surface, but definitely look it up, find some people who know what they're talking about. AWFS.
AWFS is in July.
It's coming up in July.
And we will be there Tuesday. Our flight gets in Tuesday afternoon, so we'll be there Tuesday night. And then we are there Wednesday because you're doing
classes on Wednesday.
And like a meetup.
Yeah, there is a meet and greet type thing. Not by us. It's like an AWFS sanctioned meet and greet with me.
I put the events on the Wood Whisperer Facebook page. So if you want more details on both of the session and the meet and greet, they're there.
It'll be a little more formal than like I imagine than our normal meetups that we do when we like meet up at the bar. Here's what's going to happen. I'll be sitting in a chair at the far end of the room, and I will hang my hand over. And people will pay $5 to come kiss my ring.
No.
Well, that's what I'm expecting.
I don't think that's how it's gonna work.
No? Okay.
And then
my dreams.
We're leaving Thursday afternoon.
So it's gonna be pretty quick.
It's a quick trip.
Yeah. Quick trip, guaranteed. Okay, Matt Scranton wrote in. He says, I'm going to be building my workbench soon, still debating between a traditional bench and more of a modern work surface like the Paulk workbench. Knowing that you have a Rubo, could you ever see yourself being successful with an MFT variant? Well, yes, there are always ways, right? And I have an MFT, but I don't really utilize it to its fullest. And that's because I have this workbench. I tend to focus a little bit more on hand tools. And if I were really just primarily a power tool woodworker, I think the MFT or an MFT style bench with holes in it, like Paulk's design, which is fantastic, I think I probably would be perfectly happy with something like that. But when you're pounding chisels and hammering into things and sawing stuff and planing and, you know, getting your body into it, there really is nothing quite like the heft and weight of a classic workbench. So it's not to say that it can't be done, but it really depends on where your personal usage, like where it goes. If you tend to be on the hybrid side of things, you're probably going to want that workbench, a classic workbench. But if you do focus, you know, 90% power tools, then you're going to be fine with something like an MFT or the Paulk design. And I actually haven't really delved too much into Paulk's design, but it's incredibly popular. In fact, the neighbors across the street are getting some work done, and I saw one in use in the driveway from the people who were working on the house over there. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. It was really neat to see. So it is clearly a good design, but it's going to be a very personal choice whether it's something that's right for you, Matt. Andrew St. Pierre says... Matt, we're watching.
I'm watching you.
Andrew St. Pierre, hey Mark, this isn't really an advice question. Do you see Matteo taking an interest in woodworking? I know he's still young. If he does, what skill would you like to teach him first? Well, Matteo has shown an interest in, at least a theoretical interest in building stuff with me. He's brought that up, our son.
Oh yeah.
You know, that 5-year-old kid that runs around the house and needs help wiping his butt?
I have
I know, you're trying to do two things at once. Yeah. Let me tell you what Nicole doesn't do well. Two things at once.
I don't do two things at once.
If she's staring at a screen of any type, it doesn't matter what it is. The next day, I'm going to get a question asking me about the exact same, like yesterday. We talked about your computer.
Yeah.
And Nicole's in desperate need of a new computer. Hers is just trashed.
Keeps locking up and crashing.
It's a horrible first world situation. And I said, okay, I'm going to order it real quick before I go back in the shop. Ordered the computer, got up off my computer and said, okay, your computer is ordered, should be in a couple weeks. I'm going out to work. And then this morning she goes, hey, did you ever order my computer?
You want to know why? Because I was very focused on the task at hand yesterday, which was figuring out how to send out an email to all the TAPS people.
Oh, I got coffee on my bench mat.
Any of you that have pre-ordered the TAPS, I have an email coming to you today. I'm going to get it out.
And we're getting tons of questions, and everyone's asking for updates.
Yeah.
The reason we're not sending an official update is because the last update is still valid. Like nothing's changed. We're still doing planning on a late June ship time frame, which means people should start receiving their TAPS anywhere from late June to July.
And I'm just sending an email out to say, we're confirming your address because it's been a while and you might have moved.
Yeah, that definitely could have happened.
And I definitely don't want the nightmare of, I didn't get my order.
Yeah. So to answer Andrew's question.
Oh yes, Andrew.
Matteo has shown an interest in assembling things. So I do like to stick with toys, with very basic things. A lot of times I'll have him, and he's at that age right now where he doesn't even have to do anything to feel a sense of accomplishment. So I'll be like, hey, we need to go make this thing. Can you help me? And he'll come in and he'll do something, and then he'll go play for 5 minutes while I actually do that thing. It's all in spirit at this point. But you know, when he's really interested, we'll start doing stuff. I will probably start him on hand tools, you know, just to get him acquainted with it. My ultimate goal with my son, even outside of the woodworking arena, is to make sure he understands one thing. Well, no, a lot of things. That sounds a little limiting, doesn't it? There's one very important thing for him to understand is that he can fix stuff and he can make stuff. So like yesterday, I had to replace a couple sprinkler heads. I had to fix a couple, and he's like, Daddy, what are you doing? It's like, oh, I'm, you know, replacing some sprinkler heads. Oh, what is that? And he starts asking questions. But I want him to know that and grow up knowing that my dad was always able to fix things and not have to call people out to get this stuff done. And then I show him how to do it, you know. And if he chooses to hire someone in the future, that's his problem. Yeah. But he'll have no excuse why he couldn't do it himself if he wanted to. Anyway, any things you want to interject?
I do have a super chat from Ness. Ness G. Take 2 of this super chat.
Ness G, yo!
Good day, Mark and Nick. Enjoyed the show down under. Enjoy the show down under.
Yeah,
I was
love
thinking,
your work. Cheers, mates.
I didn't showdown. I thought it was talking about the shootout.
Oh, you and me having a showdown? Okay.
So thanks, Ness.
Yeah, thank you,
That's
Ness.
really cool. Thanks.
Good day, mate.
Good day.
Hey, put another shrimp on the Barbie from...
How many times are you going to do that?
It just never gets unfunny.
No, it's not funny.
Fine. Chris Brown?
You're welcome, Ness.
Chris Brown was wondering the benefits of putting wax on a finish. I'm a novice woodworker, just finished a magazine rack that you built a while ago. Used boiled linseed oil with mineral spirits for the finish on walnut. After reading the label, it stated that paste wax can be applied on the finish, hence my question. Thank you guys for your awesomeness. Hope you have a fun-filled, action-packed, adventurous day. Well, I think you kind of described the one instance when I do like wax as Tor?
Is that Tor or Millie?
Millie's right there.
Millie's right there.
As an additive to an existing finish. It's funny, we had a quick little hangout for Wood Talk yesterday. So me, Matt, and Shannon, and a bunch of other guys were there. And the subject of wax came up. And the way I look at wax, this person was asking about wax over a poly finish. And I've said this many times before, that I see wax as sort of like putting saran wrap over a suit of armor, right? When you put wax over a poly finish, the most you're gonna do is change the appearance a little bit. Maybe you're gonna buff it out and it's actually acting somewhat like a lubricant for the abrasive that you're using. You can accomplish the same thing with a little bit of mineral oil and some mineral spirits and just some kind of an abrasive pad. I've done that many times. So if you're doing it for that purpose, fine, but ultimately wax is a very weak material. It doesn't provide tons of protection, maybe a little bit. But on top of poly, it's just kind of useless. I don't think it's necessary. The time it really does make sense is when you're using an oil finish, and that's what you're doing. So boiled linseed oil, tung oil. We talked about these oils in the last live session, actually, on Friday. So those finishes could use a little bit more help. They could use that little extra film, and wax is a good solution for that. And it will add more protection, give you a little bit more sheen on the surface, make it look really nice and feel smooth. Just keep in mind, wax is a commitment. So once it's on there, you kind of have to commit to reapplying some wax over time to sort of help keep it looking good.
Jay says, dude, you need to try Osmo oil and wax blend. I never use poly anymore.
If I had $1 for everybody who told me what finish I need to try, then I'm never going to go back. That's great. And the finishes are like, condiments. It depends on what you like.
I've never even heard of it.
Osmo Poly X. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to try it. It's on my list.
Yep.
And I actually do think in the future we'll do another shootout for oil finishes, and that'll include oils, oil wax blends, polymerized oils, things like that.
Mm-hmm. And Ness says we like steaks or sausage on the Barbie better.
Put another steak or sausage on the Barbie for me, eh?
Sausages!
Sausage. Everyone likes sausage. Giant sausages, no way.
No way.
All right. Mark Nyland, love your show. Glad you and Nicole take the time to entertain us each week. If that's what you call it, Mark. I don't know that I would call this entertaining. I'm currently building a significant built-in cabinet project on a workshop in a workshop of limited size. The question is batch build versus individual build. And boy, this is on my mind right now with those chairs I'm batching out. If I do the batch build, I'll have cabinets, face frames, doors, trim pieces all over the place with a possibility of breaking something due to continually moving things around, and it gets harder and harder with each step. But if I do individual piece builds, I will complete each cabinet, install a final location, and need to totally reconfigure the workshop functionality over and over. What's your opinion? Talk amongst yourselves. I would say without a doubt, do everything you can to batch this stuff out. We're talking shop cabinets, right? Significant built-in cabinet project. Oh, no, it's not a shop project. So built-ins. I still think doing the batching is really the way to go. It's going to increase your accuracy. It's going to grand total limit the amount of time you have to put into this thing versus resetting everything up. Every time you reset that tool up, you have a chance to make it a little bit different than the last one. So I think batching out whatever it takes, figure out a way, move some tools that aren't essential to the process, move them out of the way as much as possible, and clear some space to try to get this batched out. Because eventually you're just gonna have stacks of parts. They don't really take up that much room. Now, once you start to assemble your cases, well, now you've got that classic problem in small shops where you've got casework stacked upon other cases. But I definitely think it's worth the risk, it's worth the effort to batch them out because the results are going to be better and your ultimate time investment in this project is going to be shorter if you do that. So I'm 100% on the side of batching in that case.
Someone in the chat says you need what is it, the Highland? Is it how you pronounce it?
A Hylian shield.
Hylian shield to go with your ocarina. But
yeah, I do.
You do have a new addition to the shop.
I got a Hylian shield on the back of my jacket.
Yeah, you also have.
Oh yeah, no one's seen that yet.
I got you that backpack. It's downstairs.
Here, check this out. Look at the sweet vinyl decal on my door. How great is that?
He's all about the.
Is that one from? Is that Link?
That's a wind.
Whatever, Between Worlds, whatever.
I thought
Wasn't it the Game Boy game?
The tube is over there. I think it's Wind Waker. Or
Link
something.
Between Worlds, I think.
Something like
that. Or
that.
it might be Wind Waker.
We got a super chat from Haley, but Haley hasn't said a question yet, so I'm waiting for her. Oh, there. Oh, Haley, you didn't have to do it again. Oh my goodness. Endgrain outdoor. What is that?
Bonsai.
Bonsai.
You don't know the word bonsai?
Display tables.
You ever watch The Karate Kid?
I have watched it.
Come on now.
What finish/sealant do you recommend?
Endgrain outdoor bonsai display tables. Wow. So something the way you're describing it as endgrain implies that there's a lot of exposed endgrain, like a cutting board that has endgrain. If that's the case, you got to keep in mind that endgrain is like a sponge. So outdoor, I would be very inclined to seal the heck out of that thing to make sure it's impervious to liquid as much as possible. I would probably go with something similar to what I did on my recent outdoor table video, using like a product like CPES to seal it and then varnish on top of it. You could just go with an outdoor varnish, like Epiphanes is a good choice. Thin the crap out of it, like really thin it out and apply very thin coats to let it soak it in so that the wood really drinks it up. It'll take a lot of coats as it starts to fill up the grain from the inside, and then you kind of are filling it as you go until finally you're putting a film on the surface. For end grain, I can't imagine going any other way, just because it's going to be so inclined to pick up moisture that it's just the movement is going to wreak havoc on whatever this thing is. It would help if I saw a picture of it. But generally speaking, it's go bulletproof or go with something that requires constant maintenance. And I think bulletproof in this case is the best bet. Though it might not fit the sort of, I don't know, the mood that you're trying to create with a bonsai display.
Right.
You know, is it ruining the feng shui?
Right, I don't know.
That makes no sense what I just said.
It's just...
I'm just putting words together.
Well, you're talking about the natural look of the wood.
If you're trying, here's the thing. If you're training bonsai trees, you probably are of that mindset where you don't necessarily want like a heavy-duty, plasticky, nasty chemical material on it.
But I really do like how the outdoor...
It looks good.
It looks really good.
Yeah, check out my outdoor refinishing that I just did about a month ago or so.
Yeah.
See if you like the look of that table, and you could certainly do that.
So thank you, Haley. Michael Gomez, I got that at Think Geek. So the link, they were on clearance, so they may have some still left, but they probably won't have them for long.
Okay, so Chet wrote in, he says, I have noticed in some of your videos, when you're running material through the planer, you do both sides to remove material evenly and help with wood movement. In this process, do you account in any way for the fact that you've already removed some material from one side at the jointer? Well, this is not an exact science when I do this. I want to try to remove the same amount of material from both faces. And for those who don't know, as you remove the material from each face, you're exposing fresh wood, and that wood might have more moisture in it. And the more you get to the center of a board, that's where it's going to have its highest moisture. So if you only remove material from one side, as it starts to dry, it could cause the board to warp and deform a little bit as it comes to equilibrium. So we want to take the same amount of material off both sides by putting it through the planer with the same number of passes. So he's asking, when I go over the jointer for the first step, that is removing some material. So yeah, I do account for that simply by saying, kind of estimating in my head the number of passes I've taken. Generally speaking, once I put that jointed face down and run it through the planer, the first pass at the planer is going to remove about the equivalent material that I already took off at the jointer, maybe even more. You know, so it's not trying to get it absolutely perfect, but I will try to go back and forth and make sure I remove some material from both sides. I don't really get too concerned about the exact number.
I have a super chat.
We got so many questions.
I'm sorry. We got one.
I know.
We got one from Frapsity.
I just want to get to them all.
So from Frapsity, which, guys, stop talking, messing me up here.
Frapsity.
I'm looking to buy a Carter bandsaw guide.
Oh.
I was wondering, should I get the guide directly from Carter for my 14-inch jet bandsaw, or a Carter style guide from Jet? Presumably, if I get it from Jet, I'm 100% sure there's no compatibility issues, but I also presume no one can out Carter.
I would agree with you on that. Carter's fantastic, and I might be a little bit biased because I'm becoming a giant fan of Alex Snodgrass. Alex is coming out to the shop this month to work with us, and we're going to be putting some Carter products on my bandsaws. So you're right. I don't think anybody can out Carter. I doubt the Jet, you know, if it's a copy, I doubt it's going to be bad. I'm sure it's going to work just fine. But for me personally, you know, I like to have the original stuff. You know, I'm a big fan of name brands. You know, like I'm sporting Kirkland's today.
You are,
right?
Are those Kirkland's?
I have no idea. I don't know where my clothes come from. They just magically show up in my dresser. But I think Carter makes really good stuff. And I think if you, let's say you have a problem with that guide, not that Jet has bad customer service, their customer service is great, but if you have any issues, I would say the people who are dedicated to that stuff are probably going to be a little bit more well-versed in getting you solutions to those problems as well. And if you want to further accessorize, you know, Carter's got a whole line of products that are, you know, good for various bandsaws, you know. So it's kind of a toss-up, but I'm leaning toward Carter for something like that, right? And I've got some Carter stuff sitting here waiting to be installed.
Yeah,
and,
you'll do some videos towards the end of the month.
Yeah, and I haven't done it. But Carter, geez, I can't remember since the beginning of my woodworking, I just remember them being as like the ultimate in bandsaw guides. You know, when you think of like, oh, I want to hot rod my bandsaw, Carter's the company you think about.
Right. Mark Day in the chat room also says, what is the best method for squaring the ends of a live edge table? Didn't you have a live edge table with the coffee table? The sides are both curved, and it makes it somewhat hard to figure out what looks best. I plan on laying out the joinery for the legs based off the end.
I would look at my video. I did that exact thing.
Yeah.
Now mine was pretty square to begin with, but I showed how using the grain as a frame of reference to try to get 2 square cuts on both sides of that live edge, and I used my track saw to do it. So look at my coffee table video that was done a couple months ago. That should give you some guidelines.
Yay!
All right, Stuart Johnson says, you had a very good demonstration a few weeks ago explaining routing direction. What can be done when an edge guide is needed and the router doesn't have one, or like Milwaukee, one is not available? Milwaukee. So this is an edge guide. This is my Bosch edge guide, very typical stuff. The posts go into the base of the router.
Did it come with the router, or did you buy it separately?
This, I believe, was purchased separately. Okay, they go into the holes, and my little wing nuts are...
The jujobbies?
My do-jobbies are blocking it.
Dingle hoppers.
My little dingy hoppers. All right. Forget you. Anyway, my point is this. If you can't get this stupid thing on, you can DIY this to some extent. There are ways, a lot of times bases will have holes in them, like for accessories. Sometimes they don't, and you might have to use small clamps or something. But you can certainly take a small scrap of wood, put that on your base, and as long as it's mounted in the correct position, that becomes your edge guide. okay? So that's not a perfect solution, it's very limiting, but depending on the size of the workpiece and how far you need to go in with it, that can certainly do the job. Sometimes depending on the operation and how heavy duty it is, you could even use some double stick tape or hot glue to attach it. But again, if you're taking off a lot of material, you don't want anything that has any chance of moving. But that's a solution for you, scrap wood. Okay.
The Colorado flag is still here. It's just out of frame.
It's up there, it's up high. Okay, Yoso. Now I'm gonna try to summarize this. Yoso bought a combination bit from Eagle America, and it is combination, meaning that it has both up, like a compression bit, where it's got both up and down spiral configuration to the blades. And I guess the consensus is that the lion's share of that is down spiral. So what he's doing is using it in a router table for flush trimming, and found that, and here's something to keep in mind. I know I'm not the only one who has gotten confused over this in the past. Up spiral, down spiral, and the fact that we use these bits in a router, and a router table reverses its orientation. So what's up spiral, what's down? Just remember, the terminology for up and down spiral is always with reference to a handheld router. Mm-hmm. Thought I heard something weird. It's always with reference to a handheld router. So when you're thinking up and down, an up spiral bit has, from a handheld router perspective, it's going to want to push things upwards, right? The spiral is going up. And if you have a down spiral bit in a handheld router, it's going down. If you reverse this and you put it in a table, everything is just the opposite now. It's still the same with reference to the router, but because the router is upside down, you know, something that was an up spiral bit is now going downward in a table. So if you're using a router template, folks who have used a down spiral bit in a router table have noticed that it wants to lift the piece up. And now I honestly haven't really noticed this that much. Maybe I've just gotten lucky, but this came up in a Facebook post recently because in, I think it was the rocker build, I linked to a bit, wasn't the one I used, but I linked to a bit that's comparable to the one I used, and it was a down spiral bit. And I made that mistake. I should have put an up spiral bit in there. So people are trying to use this down spiral bit with a template, and it's starting to lift the workpiece a little bit. So that's a no good.
That's your fault?
Yeah. So what Yoso is asking is, now with this bit that he has, should he be just as scared using it, because he doesn't want to use it in a table, right? Should he be just as scared using it in a handheld router? And I'm going to say no for the most part, and here's why. When you're at the router table, the router is fixed, everything is steady. The only thing holding that workpiece down is your hands, right? The paddles, whatever you're using to hold it in position. And the workpiece itself is very light. So you have to constantly resist any upward motion. In a handheld router, this thing is heavy. Hold this.
I don't want to.
Come on, just try.
I don't want to.
Try it. You weakling. All right, this is actually pretty heavy. And the weight of the router alone keeps it pretty stable. So now your workpiece is immobilized, right? It's gonna be clamped down. You've got your own strength in addition to the natural gravity, weight pushing down on this router. It's actually going to be pretty darn stable, and I don't think I would worry about it all that much.
It's so heavy, I don't want to lift it.
It's so heavy, Nicole won't even touch it.
So we got a few super chats.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, sorry. Oh, you're not done.
Let me just cap it off.
Okay, cap that off.
Let me pinch it off.
Pinch it off.
So ultimately, you still need to exercise caution, but I wouldn't call that bit completely useless at this point. Just exercise caution and understand, now that you know the sort of physics of what's happening there, you know what to expect, but I don't think it's gonna throw your router. You'd be surprised at how much the weight of a good sized router is gonna kind of stabilize things for you. Nicole.
So Jesus Sanchez.
Jesus.
Barraza says, thanks, Mark. This week in a developer meeting at my office, my boss said super class, and I repeated it using his voice while he was saying it.
Super class. Oh, that's all, and everybody's probably like, dude, Jesus, what's your problem?
Well, he says super chat.
Super chat. Nobody gets the inside joke.
Yeah. Haley again once did a super chat and says, are you ever coming to Australia?
I don't think they're going to let me in now. that I make fun of.
They keep a tally of everyone that makes the shrimp on the Barbie joke. And
look, I learned everything I need to know about Australia from Crocodile Dundee and the Wiggles. And I feel like I'm pretty prepared for the adventure.
Yeah.
I would love to go to Australia. I think
New Zealand and Australia.
The two of us would just love that as a vacation opportunity.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what, if the opportunity was ever right.
Hey, is there any Australian woodworking organizations?
Yeah. Nicole and I would be all over that.
Yeah, we'll turn it into work and fun.
Yeah, as long as you pay for the trip, I would probably do the presentation for free.
Yeah.
You know,
Vic also said, just wanted to say good morning. Thanks for the Friday morning distraction.
Vic who?
Vic.
Our Vic?
Our Vic.
The man.
The man.
Hey.
Tumblewoods.
Tumble Woodworks.
Oh, I thought it was, oh yeah, sorry. I thought it was
How you doing, Vic? Good to see you, buddy. Virtually, that is.
And then Joshua Luther says, thanks, Mark. My son wants a Maui hook now.
Oh boy.
So.
Those are all the rage.
Well, and then somebody is making the paddle.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. The what's her name's paddle? The little girl's paddle.
Moana.
The
name of the movie.
Yeah, Moana.
Moana.
Anyone notice that I shaved? Anyone?
Did anybody notice?
Everyone wants to comment that I have a beard and it looks stupid.
It doesn't look stupid.
Does anyone want to say?
It says it looks
Mark,
stupid.
you look 10 years younger without the beard.
Yeah.
Do I?
You didn't notice I got my hair cut.
I did notice. I was there the day you left and said, I'm going to get my hair cut. And then when you came back and said, do you like my new haircut? And I said, it's beautiful, honey.
Yeah. That's what you're supposed to say.
You look 15 years younger.
Thank you. You do too.
Thank you.
I love you.
Excellent. Love you too.
John Funk said, Mark, you look 10 years younger.
Well, thank you, John. I really appreciate that. Coming from you, sir, I will take that as a compliment. Okay.
Our daughter Ava noticed when he shaved. She was like,
yeah, she wanted to touch. Okay, Nick wrote in, is there any merit to having chisels of varying bevel angles? I've heard that different angles on a plane can lead to changes in how they behave, and I was wondering if you do this on chisels as well. Yes, and in fact, how many weeks ago, I thought we did this with a discussion on bevel angles. Maybe, maybe not. Bottom line, let me bottom line it for you. I do have multiple sets of chisels, and I keep one set at a lower angle, and those are a little bit better for things like paring operations, slicing endgrain and things like that. It's a little bit more efficient, makes a cleaner cut. Then I have the ones that I use for joinery where I'm giving them a little bit more abuse. I'm gonna really hit them pretty hard with a mallet. And those are at a higher bevel angle, like 30 to 35 degrees, because that makes that edge more durable. So you can make it a shallow angle, it's less durable, but can be a little bit sharper for paring tasks, or you go with a more substantial bevel angle, 30, 35 degrees, and that's gonna get you something that's gonna last a little bit longer and take a little more abuse.
Jay wants to know when Woodworkers Fighting Cancer is. That is
in the fall.
In the fall.
Haven't even begun to think about it.
No.
Actually, we have. We've been looking at different beneficiaries on who we're going to partner with.
Yep.
Okay.
September, October.
Yep. And this year, it's going to be a simpler project. I've made that decision that I like doing a more complex project because it does limit things. I just want people to build the crap out of this. Now, we're not going to be doing like paper airplanes, but we're going to do probably a toy of some sort, and it's not going to be extremely complex. It's going to be something lots of people can do.
We're going to make wooden blocks.
Yes, take a 2x4, rip it in half, and then chop it. Okay, Philip wrote in, Philip Erickson. Hey, Phil again. Is there any lacquer that you think would hold up outdoors? I want to spray my Adirondack chairs with the Fuji to make finishing a little easier. No.
Derek A wants to know if you could buy one plane, would you buy a low angle or a standard angle?
Depends on which plane we're talking about, Derek. If it's a block plane, I might just go with a low angle block plane and not worry about the higher angle. If we're talking about like a bigger plane, like a low angle jack, you know, something like this beauty right here, low angle, in my opinion, is the only way to go. All the cool people are doing it because, you know, for me, it's very versatile and I only need one plane to do a lot of different tasks. But I think you look around, you're going to find a lot of different opinions. The body of a regular traditional plane is much heavier. There's a lot more heft to it. You know, there's also a lot more things to monkey around with for setup.
It was meant to be a quick question.
Sorry. There is no quick question in my world. Okay, we're going to wrap it up. Let's do 2 more questions and then we're done.
So I'm not going to pull any.
I couldn't get to them all.
Oh, wow.
I told you we had a lot of questions today, and we have to keep it
guys.
short. You know why? Because I got to edge the lawn.
Yeah.
And it's really hot, and then I have to mow the lawn. There's a lot to do today. And then I have to set up the multi-router and start making mortises.
Yeah, you got a lot of wood hanging out here.
I do.
All right.
I do. All right, give me a couple questions from the chat.
Okay. Maybe Morrow too says, while watching the Dining Chair Guild video, I saw something that I've never really thought of. What is the advantage/reasoning of fastening the crest rails with the screws rather than a mortise and tenon?
Well, one of the reasons is simplicity. I find it a little bit easier. There are times where you look at that crest rail and you have to decide, do you want your crest rail to sit on top of the legs and go the full span, or do you want it to sit between the legs? My experience with the Maloof rocker taught me that putting the crest rail between the legs actually simplifies things in a lot of ways and gives you a cool look when you're able to put those dowels to cap off the screws in the sides. So I think it really comes down to the final look of the piece as well as the type of work you want to do and how much detail you want to put into it. I also like the fact that with the legs on the sides, to me, it kind of just makes more sense. You know, it'd be like having a frame and panel door where the top rail goes all the way across, but the bottom rail is between. I just think it makes more sense that everything else is between the legs. So why not have the crest rail between the legs? But it also gives you an opportunity to bring those legs up a little bit. Almost bring them eggs up, baby. Bring the legs up and almost create like horns or some sort of a punctuation point. If the crest rail goes all the way across, you kind of don't have as much in the way of options for that. So personal preference, really, but I like it.
Haley is making it rain up in the super chat. Ooh. Wants to know what was your first tools, and do you still have them?
Ooh, no. I don't think I have any of my first tools.
The DeWalt biscuit joiner, you held on to that thing for a long time. And then
that just this year.
Yeah.
I think in one of our most recent sales of just like offloading stuff, Craftsman miter saw and Craftsman table saw.
Yep.
All gone at this point.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't have any of them.
Scott, who does our show notes for the...
Oh, that's Scott?
He has a question.
Yeah.
He says, I'm going to be installing some new doors in the next few weeks, and I'm looking for solutions to spray paint them. I have a few options, which include renting an airless sprayer, using the money on an HVLP, Earlex, or a Semi-Pro 2, or picking up a compressor and the conversion gun. I know the ideal is to get airless since it's made for latex, but I could use the solution to get shop equipment. I'd love to take advantage of it. Would it be crazy to pick up a California Air Tools compressor, very quiet, and a conversion gun with the intention of thinning out the paint a little to spray?
I don't think that's crazy.
Should he just rent it?
I think you should try it. I mean, the problem is it does take some finesse to get, paint to come out of those guns nicely. But if you get the right kind of paint and possibly get some, thinner, maybe a little Floetrol.
Because I've been on Fuji Spray's website, especially with their new compressor gun. They talk about paint, don't they?
Well, and all these things can do paint. As long as it's a high enough powered unit, it could push out paint. It's just how good is the quality, and that's why a lot of times airless is better, because it's better for a really thick bodied finish. It can be done, and with a little bit of research on what paint you use, you'll be able to do it. And especially if it's not something you're going to do all the time, invest in shop equipment that is something you're going to use, and then try to stretch that thing to do the job you need it to do for this temporary job.
You just got the new Fuji Spray compressor gun in.
Right, so, still sitting in the box.
You need to open it.
Has Yoso won anything before?
I don't think so.
Okay, Yoso, you're going to be our winner today for the free guild project. I liked your question about the router bits.
Yay.
And we're going to thank some people at Patreon. Remember, if you want to help us out, help us reach our goals and help encouraging us to do the show every week, go to patreon.com/woodwhisper, and you can find out all the different ways that you could help out. The rewards are over on the side, and every little bit helps.
I'm going to pick Haley from the YouTube. So Haley.
Oh, okay. We're picking two, huh?
Yeah, I'm picking two.
Nice.
So Haley, email me at nicole@thewoodwhisperer.com.
And Yoso, you know how to get in touch with us. Lance, these are people who helped us out on Patreon, by the way. Lance Stuchel, Mike Scott 8, John Frazee, Derek Gettings, Lee Unit, JC Hunt, Chad Prohaska, Joseph Jacob Albiston, that's a name right there, Nicholas Jewell, Marvin Jones, Larry Stewart, Stephen Green,
Yeah, I know.
Richard
Right?
Dodson, Christopher Fink, Mark Oliver Bastian, Chuck Curtis, Evan Labrie, and Kevin Howell. Awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate the support, folks.
It's amazing. Yeah. I like hanging out with you, and I like hanging out with them, and yeah.
I tolerate hanging out with you, and I tolerate hanging out with them. No, actually, I love it. I absolutely love it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it.
And all the guys in the chat room, you know who you are.
Yeah.
Oh, Carl, troublemaker.
Hudson?
He is a
Mr.
troublemaker.
Hudson?
He wants to know, what's the next guild project?
Shut up. The next one is Cremona's. So you're talking about the one after that?
Yeah.
It's a desk. I already said that.
Oh, yeah, it's a desk.
It's a desk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just haven't updated the website because I'm lazy and
I
suck.
No, I will say the guild website is being redesigned. So, hi. Don't do that.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.